So I would so ask that the board vote to approve it.
Yeah, I
mean,
would,
is there-
I'm not
There's
questioning.
there's
it.
no
I was just
ambiguity,
curious.
Selectman Yule. The language is here, it's clear, and I would ask you to approve it.
I have no problem with that. I just, I should have asked those questions earlier, as I said. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
All set? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? All right. Now, 2011 budget informational hearing. I'll read the notice. North Reading Board of Selectmen does hereby notify the residents of the town of North Reading that an informational hearing on the fiscal year 2011 budget contained in the annual warrant will be held Monday, May 3rd, 2010, 7:30 PM, room 14, Town Hall. Interested residents will be given the opportunity to be heard. So I'm calling the informational hearing to order, and we'll start with a presentation by Mr. Beliconis.
Gene, can you help me with the computer?
You want to dim the lights, I think, a little bit, or,
That for atmosphere?
well, just so that everybody here, just half is good. That's good.
Thank you, board members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here this evening. I know it's a tough choice to be here with everything that's going on. I do want to thank the department heads for being here this evening. I appreciate their efforts. This is the third year in a row that has been a challenge for the budget side. Typically in the past, when we've seen down economy, the budget cycle has lasted 1 or maybe 2 years. This time it's been a little bit extended. I want to thank again the department heads. When we started this budget process back at the end of 2009, municipal departments were given the challenge of submitting 2 separate budgets. The first was a level service budget, which included any additional services or programs that they felt necessary to run their program with the level of services that they're offering today. And they were also asked to submit a level funded budget. And as we went through the budget process, it became very clear that what we had was the ability to meet a level funded budget, and really not much more than that. So the budget that will be presented this evening is representative of the fact that from the municipal side, we have a level funded budget. We have a budget that's balanced. So the amount of available revenues that we have, the budget is balanced to that number. It's an all-inclusive number, which includes any step increases. We have no contract settlements for next fiscal year. However, we do have obligations related to some of our existing contracts that we've had to provide for. And we've provided for any additional amounts that we feel is necessary. And as I go through the budget, there are some things that I have proposed to the board that they will add back in. Keep in mind, the selectmen have not voted a budget as of this date. The board will be voting their budget recommendations at their meeting 2 weeks from tonight. So this is merely a recommendation, an opportunity to put information on the table and get feedback and comments from you. So when we started this budget process, we operated under some different assumptions. Originally, when we started off, we looked at state aid, and we presumed that there was going to be a 10% across the board cut in state aid. Unfortunately, that did not prove to be true. And so the latest figures that we have were developed by the House Ways and Means Committee. They total approximately $8.1 million in terms of general local aid, including Chapter 70 for the town. So that's the number that we really adjusted the municipal budget to. We look at our fixed costs and we establish what those are. The main fixed cost, we spent a lot of time talking about health insurance, but that's a $5 million fixed cost, and that's right off the top. We also look at what our other employee benefits are. We look at our debt service costs. We look at our retirements. We look at a number of different things that I'll get into later in the presentation, which you consider to be fixed costs that are taken off the top. Those costs are shared between the town and the schools.
So before any monies are allocated between the town and the schools, we take those monies off the top. The revenue split that we've adhered to in this case is 66% for the school department and 34% for the town. That results in a municipal budget of approximately $11.6 million. The exception to the 66-34 split is the federal stimulus or ARA funds and an additional earmark that will be proposed this evening from the Debt Capital Stabilization Fund. The total amount of those earmarks for the schools are $275,000. Should want to point out that we do have some negative local economic impacts that affect our budget. They mainly affect our local receipts, which are flat. This really should be no surprise. And they impact our new growth, which is a major challenge. New growth being the new construction, new building construction that's coming online. Keep in mind that over the last couple of years, we've enjoyed the benefit of the Berry Center project. So as the Berry Center project came online and was phased in, the town received a substantial amount in new growth revenues. Those new growth revenues carry on, but there's not an incremental increase for 2011 that we can count on. So in terms of the municipal budget, I'm only speaking to the municipal budget at this point, is what were our budget goals? Our budget goals were to maintain level services to the extent we possibly can. It's very difficult and challenging within the context of level funding. We want to prevent employee layoffs, and there are a total of 7 unfilled municipal positions that exist throughout different levels of town government, including town hall, which we did not address as part of this budget. We want to maintain adequate reserves to deal with a further deterioration of the economy. It's critical that we maintain those reserves going forward. They're beneficial to the town for a number of reasons. You only need to look at the MWRA crisis, water crisis, to realize reserves are a good thing to have, but they also have another issue, which is they provide us with a improved bond rating, which means that the cost of borrowing is considerably less for a number of capital projects that we do have. We want to try to create long-term savings through efficiencies and changes to employee benefits, and I put in health insurance as an example, but savings is always critical. And so what we try to do is we try to be as efficient as possible and looking at wherever we can save money. We want to try to develop alternate revenue sources. And keep in mind that Massachusetts gives us a fairly limited scope of revenue sources. We're unable to raise any taxes unless the state allows by law for the town to issue taxes. A couple of things that we've done over the past year. Town meeting, as you know, did approve the meals tax. The total amount of money or revenue that's anticipated is $100,000. That's built into the 2011 budget. And we also receive revenue for cell tower and lease of municipal property. And it's about $167,000, $168,000 that we receive in cell tower revenue. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. It's actually quite sizable. And the final goal that we want to try to achieve in the budget process is collaboration between the town and the schools, because the public says we're one, and we truly are one. As the needs of one department need to be balanced against the needs of the other. So, in terms of our new revenues and cost avoidances, I think as was pointed out by Selectman O'Leary this evening, we did receive outstanding cooperation from the municipal employees for the current fiscal year. So there were no COLAs or step increases that were awarded in fiscal year 2010. All of these contracts expire on June 30th. So within a period of 7 weeks, all of those contracts will have been expired. But that could not have been done without support of all of the town's labor unions and the department heads. We're looking at proposals to change health insurance. One of the proposals is to deal with the tiered program. The potential savings associated with adoption of a tiered program is very real money. It's $402,000. Additionally, there was some discussion about savings attributable to Section 18 or Section 18A, which affects retiree health insurance. The potential savings, annual savings to the town is in the range of $64,000. In terms of cost avoidances, we're very fortunate this year to not see a large increase from the regional vocational school and also from our county retirement system. Typically, in the past, those have been costs that we consider out of our control. Not out of control, but out of our control. We receive a letter, the letter says this is the amount that you need to pay. And for fiscal year 2011, we're quite fortunate that the numbers broke in favor. And again, as I mentioned to you before, non-traditional revenue sources such as property leases are really something that we want to look at going forward.
Mr. Valiakonis,
Yes, sir.
there's some folks that are looking to gain entrance.
Oh, please come in, there's plenty of seats. Thank you. Quick recap of the town's reserves. I think it's important that, looking at the budget, everyone always says, what does the town have in reserves and why can't those reserves be used to balance our budget? First of all, the town has free cash, $199,000. The proposal that will be addressed this evening is that we use a portion of that to cover the snow deficit, and we also allocate a portion of that to be dedicated to a purchase of school textbooks. Secondly, we have $1.7 million in the stabilization fund. A small portion of that will be requested to cover the snow deficit. Thirdly, we have the debt capital stabilization fund, and the amount in that is $1.3 million. And that's used for new debt, minimizing the impact on the tax rate. And there'll be a proposal this evening to utilize a little bit more of that to go toward the 2011 budget. Fourth, we have the MTBE fund, which exists for the water department. It's money that the town received as a result of class action litigation with a number of the major oil companies throughout the nation. We were fortunate to be able to become part of that litigation. That resulted in the town bringing in a substantial amount of money, which has been placed under the control of the water department to fund future capital projects for the water department without impacting water rates. And that's really critical in terms of going forward to ensure that we provide adequate and safe water to the residents in the community. And then the last reserve that we have is the solid waste stabilization fund, $181,000, which is used annually to offset costs associated with the sanitation budget. And that is kind of set up because it's fee money that comes in, so it's fees that are collected. If there are surplus fees that are collected, it makes sense that those fees don't go back to the general fund. They get reserved and they go back toward the offset future sanitation costs going forward. So, what does the municipal budget look like? I mentioned to you we have an $11.6 million budget. It's about a $293,000 increase. It includes assumptions concerning the salary pool because we do not currently have salary settlements. It includes a $14 million amount for fixed costs. It budgets $393,000 for retirements in the schools, which represents end-of-career costs, so that would be fully funded. And it fully funds our employee benefit accounts for the towns and the schools. County retirement at $2.3 million, workers' compensation at $280,000. Medicare tax I point out there because it's below the water line. No one really sees it and really understands what it is, but we have to pay a matching 1.45% Medicare tax on all of our employees, and that amount will grow as newer employees come into the workforce. Presently, our older employees are exempt from that tax, and the town is also exempt from paying. And then lastly, I mentioned to you the health insurance. The total health insurance budget proposed for next year is $5 million. It's an increase of $502,000 from this year. You'll remember a prior slide where I said it was $411,000. The difference between 502 and 411 is we have an option to increase our health insurance by only 2%, and that's what the $411,000 in savings relates to. But the $502,000 is based upon an 11.1% increase in our health insurance plan. Status quo, no changes to the existing plan that we have in place. So, municipal budget highlights. There are a couple of things that we're part of research